Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Responsible Investment Brand Index Launch 2023. We are very happy to stream live from Zurich today, and we're very grateful because we're in a very high spot here in the Swiss Prime Tower. So a big thank you to Swiss Prime Site Solutions, Real Estate Asset Management for hosting us. But this is all about the Responsible Investment Brand Index globally. So today in Zurich, Jean-François, when we launched the last one, seems like an eternity ago. Where was that? Do you remember when we launched?
Oh yeah, I remember very well. It was in Monaco.
Monaco.
We were there for the Fun Forum.
That's right.
And I have to say it was as sunny as it is today here in Zurich. Even more degrees in the temperature. But that was good. I'm very happy to be here in Zurich. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending this conference. We are very grateful you're giving us some of your time, precious time, to be with us this afternoon. Let me introduce my colleague, business partner, Marcus Karma. We know each other for, well, close to 10 years now. Marcus is a specialist of brands in all sectors, has done particular and specific research on purpose and how purpose is at the heart of the brand. We work together on many client projects. We help our clients on their brand, in particular on their product strategy on the other hand. And of course, we work on the Responsible Investment Brand Index. Mark?
Well, what can I say? Jean-François, nice to meet you here once more. We work a lot, we have to say, for many years already. And I've come to know you as a deep expert in the asset management industry. For sure, that's where your expertise is. Société Générale Unigestion, we got to know one another. Seems like an eternity ago. But working today in strategy, positioning, asset management at HIDF. So, welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We have a few people still joining us. So, a pleasure to have you. And we're going to jump straight in. Just a few things to set us up. We are going to have this moderated by Jean-François and myself. The next 30 minutes plus Q&A for whoever decides to stay with us. We have Pablo Morales. And Pablo Morales, you will see him in the chat, is the host and the moderator for any questions you might have. Feel free to ping it directly into the chat. If you have it, we have a Google Sheet where we log this, so we can get to this afterwards. Or you can also private DM him if you don't want anyone to read your question. So Pablo Morales is the keeper of questions for afterwards. Thank you already to Pablo. And we're also recording this. So by all means, just to be clear, if you have your video on or your voice on, we are recording this session for the replay afterwards. That's about it for the setup. But so Jean-François, how are we going to run the next 30 minutes?
Next 30 minutes is going to be, well, RIBI, what is it? What is it about? What are we trying to achieve for the asset managers community? What are we trying to achieve for fund selectors who analyze the asset managers? What is it about? Then we go straight into the results and we go into the top 10s who are the best asset managers from the RIBI lens in each of the country that we are looking after. And there we take some altitudes and look at everything from higher altitudes and look at the big trends that we have found in this year edition. Let's go.
Super, let's go. And then hopefully we'll have some time to discuss, but take us through.
Let's start by the landscape. We are publishing that index right after a complex year for the responsible investors. I mean, if you look at the 2022 years, and from an investment perspective, all investment categories were in negative territories, speaking about performance, with the only exception of gas and oil, which are probably the most controversial one from an ESG standpoint. So, first dilemma. Second point is, you have seen, especially in Europe, the regulatory developments, and every asset manager we have met this year has spent a lot of his time figuring out the regulation itself, what it means to the organization and how to implement it in the best way. So there again, another dilemma in the responsible investment sectors. In the US, quite a division of the matter is becoming quite political and open to hot debate. If all of this was not enough, the investors have just, quote unquote, 5,000 funds responsible funds to choose from, and it's speaking about Europe only. So that makes it really difficult, and I think that someone wants to invest in a responsible manner may feel this year is a little bit like these ladies and gentlemen here on the picture in the maze trying to find their way. If this was not enough, this comes in an industry who is extremely crowded. 13,000 asset managers to choose from, 130,000 funds to choose from worldwide. I'm only speaking about the listed funds. There are many other ones. So it means that for an investors, finding this golden egg, which is here in the middle, which is clear, identifiable, and solve the problem that it has, is extremely difficult. If you look at it from the other side of the lens, it means that for the asset managers doing the work, to be that golden egg here in the middle, different from the other, clearly identifiable, visible, is of the utmost strategic importance. Now, Marcus, tell us a little bit about how the brand can help in being the golden egg.
Yes, Jean-François, thank you. So it's called the Responsible Investment Brand Index for a reason, and we just would like you to really focus and understand where we come from when we talk about brand in our index. So we're not talking about the logo or the beautiful colors on the font types you choose for your website. Sure, identification has its remit, but we're also very interested in how you use brand to differentiate, stand out from competition, be the golden egg as we've just seen, and how simple you make it and easy and engaging you make it for your potential audience, institutional qualified investors, whoever they are, to engage with you. Because that helps them reduce risk, or helps you to reduce risk mutually, to build trust. And if this is possible within brand, then we can also, for genuinely not just you as a company, but for many other good reasons, including societal goods, they create benefits from out of it. We see two big themes or trends within. One we put a particular focus on. One is this radical transparency. Everything is transparent, everything is data, and we'll explain how the index is constructed and what we look for specifically in a minute. So this transparency, there's no hiding, it's direct, and it's a good thing, we believe. And the other one is this yearning for meaning, or we call it purpose-driven, being really beyond just generating profits. And with this, perhaps just to get the set up on one of the key dimensions that we really measure deeply in our index is Peter Drucker's quote a long time ago in the 50s, profit for a company is like oxygen for a person. If you don't have enough of it, you're out of the game. But if you think your life is about breathing, you're really missing something. Or in other words, of course, we need to generate profit in order to breathe as businesses, and also, of course, to work and build trust with clients globally. But there's more to it. And this is what he said a long time ago. There is probably more to this than just generating profit. So the idea of purpose is deeply ingrained in our index, and we'll just show you this and then go to the investment brand index itself, the responsible investment brand index itself. What you see here is what we look at when we talk about brand, and we get this a lot, this question. Hey, brands are very subjective. And we put some objectivity in rating it. But what are we looking at? We're looking at why you do what you do, to the extent that this is for asset management companies. And we look at the deeper value systems. What values drive you? What behaviors will this trigger? And is it coherent with the stated purpose statement? We do not look at the color of the logo when we say brand. We don't look at the font types. We look at the inner links that build both brand and culture from within. And perhaps this is a good segue to really get into the index, because how do we do this? How do we measure investment or responsible investment with the connection to the brand? We call it understanding sincerity, because that's kind of where we can see how genuine a proposition is by deeply looking in. But to take us through, Jean-François, I pass over to you.
But we have something to celebrate.
Ah, you're right. We have something to celebrate. Go for it.
It's 5 years. RIBI is 5 years old.
5 years.
Yeah. Well, 6 years old to be precise. Is it the 5th edition?
5 years. 5 years of RIBI.
Wow.
I'm not sure if you guys can do it. The 5th year of RIBI.
Okay, we don't have a cake in the room.
No, unfortunately.
But it is where RIBI was born. Marcus and I were early for a client meeting now, and we were sitting at a terrace having a coffee, and we spent so much time with our clients, speaking and helping them on their brand and how to integrate their responsible investment conviction in their brand. And we say, well, if the world is logic, then the two should connect. And we say, well, let's try, let's go and measure it. And this is how it all started. But beside this, I think it's interesting to see what we bring to you, ladies and gentlemen, through that index, and what we've done over the 5 years is year after year, we have deepened the analysis that we provide about this connection between the commitment of the asset manager to the investment and how to project that in their brand. We've done it through two different axes. One, we have deepened the methodology year after year. And on the other side, we have also expanded the number of asset managers we look at so that the comparison is made through a wider competitive marketplace.
All right, so much for 5 years of RIBI.
So much for the history.
So much for the history, but how do we measure it?
What is
What
RIBI?
do we measure?
What is RIBI? So we're launching the 2023 edition today. We are looking at close to 600 asset managers worldwide, and we measure the connections between what they do in terms of responsible investments and how to project that in the brand. That's done through two different ratings. One is the commitment. What is it that they do and how to do it? And the second is the brand. How is it projected in the brand? How is the identity projected in the brand? The core belief being that if an asset manager is truly convinced by responsible investment, truly genuine about it, then he would put it at the very heart of its identity, the brand. Let's have a look at how we measure this, and how we power it. So the results are shown in the form of the graph, and you see they are the two dimensions, commitment and the brand. Each of the two dimensions receives a rating from 0 to 5. All of the information we use to do that is all public information for two reasons. The first one is we want to stay as independent as we can. And the second one is, and that's particularly true for the brand dimensions, we want to put ourselves in the same shoes as an investors who discover an asset manager and try to understand the identity of this asset manager. So we do the same journey. So the two dimensions, commitment, we use the PRI transparency report. We have a rating from 0 to 5 based on 5 macro rating that we aggregate. And on the brand side, we look at 8 criteria. Most of the information we find on the website of the company, or we find in a press release on social media. And then those managers who achieve good rating, meaning above the 2.5 mark on two dimensions, are called the avant-gardists. Those ones which do an excellent job at committing to responsible investments, but have not yet fully done the job to project that in their brand, are called the traditionalists. These are the ones in the top side corner. Below on both dimensions are called the laggards. And the aspirants are those ones who have expressed an aspirations, a wish to go in that direction, but have not yet done the implementation to the full extent, which would enable them to be avant-gardist. Enough suspense. Let's look at the results.
Let's look at the results. There we go.
So that's what we had this year for the RIBI 2023, with about half of the industry in the laggard section. That's less than we had last time, as we will see. Traditionalists are about a quarter, a tiny part in the aspirant sections, and the leading category is a very demanding category because 19% of the asset managers worldwide make it to that category.
Yeah, they're 90%, so 94 companies. Shout out, congrats to anyone who's in here who is an avant-gardist. Two things, Jean-François. One is the methodology. I mean, you explained it really nicely, but for anyone who really wants to go deep, we do have it in the report as well as on the website in depth of how this actually works, and we won't have the time to go into it. Firstly, go there, check it out. Secondly, ask us if you have any questions on it. But the other point, I mean, Okay, so I'm interested, I would want to be in the top right quadrant. I want to be an avant-gardist. What's happening in that space and how has it evolved?
Good news there. Good news there for the industry overall. It's getting better year after year. Maybe we could move to the next.
Oh, we actually, there you go.
Okay, there you've got the view on the European landscape and the global landscape. We have 5 years of history on the European landscape, 2 years of history on global, and we're happy to see that the number of avant-gardists, the proportion of avant-gardists is growing year after year, meaning that the industry overall is working on both dimensions. You need to be an avant-gardist, you need to be consistent, and you need to be good on the 2 dimensions. So it means that really the industry overall is working on implementing responsible investment, and fine-tuning their methodology, their commitment, and at the same time, gaining in confidence to put that at the heart of the identity and expressing it through the brand.
So it's movement positive in the avant-gardist category. And of course, where it moves positively, we see the decline in areas where you wouldn't necessarily want to be. So overall, positive view. How does it scale across the world? And perhaps a word on the divergence in regions.
Not the same thing everywhere. Not the same thing everywhere. We've highlighted it last year already in terms of geographic dispersion. And actually, dispersion has gotten bigger this year, with Europe, ex-UK, and UK clearly leading the way, as you see on this chart. I mean, you have plotted the brand rating and the commitment rating aggregated by region of each of the asset manager. The world average is in the middle. You can see Europe and UK well ahead, and Asia Pacific close to the overall average. But we see Asia Pacific slowly but surely improving, and North America well behind. Please have a look at the report, the RIBI report, which you will receive right after the seminar, or you can find on the website, because there is even more granularity into this. I mean, within Europe, there are differences. Within Asia Pacific, there is differences. Within North America, differences as well. We'll touch on that in a minute. But if you want to have the full view and the full picture, there's even more discrepancy than what is shown on this chart.
All right, moving on. And I think we have about, if I'm right, we have about 10 minutes to go. And I think that's a really nice segue to our top 10.
So who are the best ones?
All right.
The creme de la creme.
Reveal, here we go.
Let's go. That's the worldwide one. Well, congratulations to all of these ones. They are the 10 companies which received the highest global RIBI rating on a worldwide basis. Congratulations to the 5 new entrants in these top 10s who were not there in the last edition of the RIBI. And the very last congratulations also specific to Pandriam, TPAM, AXA Investment Managers, and Yoruba, who are the 4 asset managers who consistently made it every year in the global top 10 in each of the 5 RIBI ranking that we have published over the last 5 years. So many congratulations, because it does not only show the commitment and the leadership, but it also shows the consistency over time of the approach of these managers.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations as well. From my side, I mean, 2 things jump out here. One is they're all European. So there's probably reasons we dive into a little bit later on why that is. But I see also quite a mix of large houses and boutiques. And yet they're in the top 10. Maybe a word on the mix here and why.
Why? It's all about strategy, commitment, size. I mean, responsible investments and being genuine about it and committing to it and expressing it with your brand is really a company strategy, is really a company commitment, is really being genuine about it. It doesn't have to do with the size. And later on, we're going to look at several other top 10 that we have. About everywhere, you see this mix of boutique, large generalist house, middle-sized companies, very diverse. Some of them are independent, some of them are affiliates of larger groups. So the diversity is impressive, actually, and probably a good sign.
Yeah, and speaking about, okay, these are European, the global top 10. But let's jump to our next top 10, and our next top 10 is the European region as such.
So congratulations again to these managers who make it to this European top 10. Well, we've said it already, it's really Europe leading the way. So you see a lot of similarity with the global ones, but many congratulations to these 10 asset managers and to the four who have joined this ranking this year.
Yeah, I see quite, I mean, I see Belgian, I see Swiss, and I see a lot of French here. Any comments on this?
Yeah, I hinted about this when we look at the chart of the geographical dispersions. When you dive into the regions, you see even more dispersion. So within Europe, true to say that Benelux and France are really two leading countries in Europe in terms of the RIBI ranking. There again, you'll find more detail in the report.
All right. Yes, please go download anytime. It's live already, and you'll get it as well. We move to
UK.
the UK. Top 10.
UK. Well, many congratulations to 10 asset managers who made it to the UK top 10. Three new ones there.
Congratulations as well. And if we look at this again, perhaps just a word, and we have to read between either the report or between the lines. If we look at Europe and Europe ex-UK, and perhaps just a bit of a contrast on what's happening on the continent and the UK being a large region, a dedicated region in our report. What's happening generally there?
Well, the UK is interesting. Between the last edition that we published and this, it's really an improvement overall. It's one of the markets where globally we've seen a lot of asset managers progressing. Well, these 10 ones, obviously, because they make it to the top 10, but we have quite a few surveyed and analyzed in the UK. And overall, there's very good progress. Everyone, let's put it this way, everyone has worked very hard in the UK to improve the overall ranking.
All right, and so with this, we go to our next region, and it's a different story. You mentioned global disparity, and some of you might have spotted this on the global chart where the different regions are. And with this, we congratulate, firstly, the top 10 in North America.
In North America, I mean, yes, globally, you've seen it on the chart, North America is lagging compared to all of the other regions. Now, it's more about an individual assessment in the asset manager. It doesn't help having some very strong asset managers in North America who have some very good rating. Congratulations again to those 10 ones. Congratulations to the 4 ones who joined this top 10 this year.
Yes, so of course, North America being primarily US, but also Canada, which we're glad to see represented here as well.
Yeah, this is great. And it's true that North America is big and we need to look at this with more granularity. North America, actually, if we look at the United States, it's true that the United States globally is lagging compared to the world average of the RIBI. Canada, on the other hand, is very close to this world average. And as you can see, this is top 10 North America, and we have 3 Canadian companies in this ranking, which, if you compare to the size of both markets, is very good compared to the relative size of the two markets. So yes, North America, Canada, and the United States, quite a different pictures actually.
All right, and we have one more region to go. We have one more region to go. Congratulations to the top 10 in our Asian region.
Congratulations to the top 10 in the Asian regions. And there, if we dive a little bit more in the Asian regions, different picture. Australia and are really leading the way in the Asia-Pac region. You see it on the screen. I mean, all of the companies but one in these top 10 are either Japanese or from Australia. Only East Spring in Singapore makes it to the top 10 without being or Australia. Something springs to mind when we speak about Asia Pacific. It's China. China is huge, of course. Well, what we've seen a lot of progress in China compared to the last edition and this edition. Not to the point that a Chinese company makes it to the top 10, but the trend is actually quite positive.
Right, thank you. That's so far for the global top 10 and the reveal by region. Now, perhaps just let's wrap up in a couple of minutes key findings and then go into some interesting questions. I'm sure we'll have a bit of time to discuss, but maybe if you can summarize the key findings for us.
Key findings, we are really thrilled to see that overall the bar is rising. Everyone is making effort. True, it's not distributed equally around the globe, but it's there. There is a directions. It's improving. We are seeing nearly half of all the asset managers who express a purpose statement, a reason for being. We were to less than half in the previous edition. At this stage, less than a quarter linked their purpose to advancing society, but we know that many of them are doing this. And actually, I think asset managers are most welcome to do that and highlight their contributions to the world out there, their contributions to the society. It is a great way to protect and enhance their reputations, and reputations for the asset management industry is something absolutely key. It is also a great way for them to make them clearer and more directly identifiable for the people who look for them, who analyze them, like being the golden egg that we've seen at the beginning of these presentations. And I think that this alignment between the asset manager and the people who analyze them or the people who invest alongside with them is absolutely key for our society. So that in itself is also a social objective.
Thank you. Yes, it's at the heart actually why we do RIBI, and maybe we'll have time to go there a bit further. But for you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. We are nearing the Q&A here, but if you want to go a bit deeper, please download the Responsible Investment Brand Index 2023. It's there for you. It's free. We have a deep dive and an insights report if you're interested in it, to get a lot more granular, to a lot more better understand the ratings and especially what you can do with them. Please do get in touch with us. New this year, we also have a tool for asset owners and fund selectors, and it's a spreadsheet, a very simple tool to use as well, to look up the categories and the changes within categories, to look at individual companies more granularly as well. Okay, so from here, I would suggest we go directly into the Q&A. We are pretty much on Swiss time, actually. We are at 3:30. So we open up for discussion, and I would say I will quickly check on our Google Sheet. I'll get my phone with the Google Sheet on it to see what we have. Let me have a look. All right. Before let me see. Although I just need to get into my spreadsheet here. All right. All right. So let's see. Refresh. Okay. You comment on the top 10. And who is new? What about the ones who dropped out? All right, okay, that's an interesting one.
Fair question.
Fair question. I'll take that one. Yes, we genuinely, the RIBI is a tool for improvement and progress, and we are not interested in pointing fingers. So we are really putting only the newcomers in, and we do not talk publicly about the ones that drop out. There are good reasons for it. There's a method behind it. There is the report, and anyone who wants to look who's no longer in there within the top 10s. Even in the last hours since the releases went out, we had some interesting reactions from companies that are no longer in it. There are good reasons for it. Please do get in touch with us if you want to explore that more deeply. If you wanted to look it up for yourself, please go and check in the report. But we do this deliberately. We deliberately believe that the whole philosophy is to advance the industry overall. We think we can make a contribution with what we do and the lens we take to look at the responsible investment landscape within asset management industry. And therefore, we steer clear from naming, shaming. We only put the ones in that are new in the top 10. I'll leave it at this, but let's see, what else do we have here? Okay, there are so many indexes, including ESG out there. Why do you do this? Why do we do this, Jean-François? I ask myself sometimes. Maybe you have an answer for this?
Yeah, it's a lot of work. So what drives us? What drives us is really to build the alignment between the asset managers and the people who analyze them and look at them. We believe this alignment is critical for the industry. We also do this. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense with what we are doing with our clients. I mean, when we work with our clients and when we have all of this information through RIBI available, we are stronger in the analysis we make them. And at the end, I think we also do this because we are passionate about the matter.
It is quite, I mean, it's blood, sweat, and tears. There isn't a huge team out there that runs this index, but we do it to the best of our ability, and it's good fun, I must say, as well. Otherwise, we wouldn't have done it for the 5th year in a row. Let's see what happens next. Let's see, what other questions do we have? Okay, I noticed that the North American top 10 are all mega or at least large asset management companies. Firms, and not a mix between large and boutique firms like in Europe. What do you make of that? Jean-François, that's one for you.
Yeah, that's a very good observation. And thank you for raising the question. We have one interpretation, which is possibly that the North American firm, and especially the US firm, are driven by their European branch. Meaning when we became global, we got called by a lot of American firms, but these were really the European hub. So we believe the large US firms have representative in Europe, which made them aware of this responsible investment trend, which is growing globally. Whereas if you're a smaller US firm, US based only, maybe you don't have that push toward that direction. But it's right that the United States is the only country where the top 10 is made of only large, big firms, with the exception of one boutique firm, which is in there.
Thank you. I should have mentioned from whom the questions are. This was from Fernand Shopping from FS Associates.
Thanks for the question, Fernand.
We have another one, and this one is from, and then we go and open up, ladies and gentlemen, but we take one more. Giuseppe Leo Zappa from Etica Funds. So, does the size of the asset manager affect pushing up the rankings? And I have time to read the question, but I'll say one thing, you expand. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. The size as such in our index is not an indicator whether you become an avant-gardist or not. Again, we look at black and white measurability on the commitment ranking on UN transparency reports. So there's go check the methodology, and we look, there's quite science to it, and we look at the brand, and the brand is yours. The brand and how you put your responsible convictions in there is yours, and it's not a matter of size on who you are, how you define yourself, why you do what you do, how you link it to your value systems, to your culture, and ultimately how you express that through your brand, to the extent that we can actually detect it and see it, and then reflect it in our index. But it's not a question of size. Not sure if you have want to add any.
For example, if you look at the worldwide top 10, there is a company in there which is less than 2 billion of assets under management, and at the same time there is another one which is about 1 trillion.
Wow.
So that shows the magnitude.
Yeah, we'll stop with take the questions from the chat here, but thank you very much for anyone who asked. I'll stop sharing the screen here, and please, if you would like to